Fallout 76 is probably one of the most fascinatingly bad and broken games that I've ever played, and it's shit on so many levels that I don't think that I could review it in my normal format. As a result, I've decided to do none other than split this video up into sections where I talk about each problem and all related problems in detail. I can't think of any other way that I can do this without it just seeming like I have ADHD and go on random tangents about different things every 5 minutes. I know that this has been a long time coming, but I've actually been dedicating the last month or two to making this. I'm not just talking about my impressions of the beta, but also my impressions of the game as a live service. However, a lot like the Walking Dead Michonne video, news updates kept happening the further that I got into it. Several issues that I initially had with the game were patched out, and then there was Bethesda's controversy with the canvas duffel bag, and then leaking their customers' personal information online. Although I do have to admit, this is one of the best collector's editions that Bethesda's ever done, the bag notwithstanding. I mean, just look at the T-51B power helmet. It's almost uncanny. I mean, yeah, they ran out of materials halfway through, a quarter of the way through, but it's still pretty close. I'm gonna try. Like previous Fallout games, you're on a quest to find something. In Fallout 3, you were looking for your dad, in Fallout 4, you were looking for your son, and in Fallout 76, you're looking for the fucking point. And spoiler alert, there is none. The main storyline is that the Overseer has left the vault and left a bunch of tapes behind in her wake, and you have to find them, pick them up, and listen to them.
I was so excited because I used to come to the same farm when I was a kid. I remember one year at the Autumn Festival, me running through the corn maze, going every which way, Mom and Dad yelling after me to slow down.
As riveting as following British Prime Minister Theresa May in tight leather across the West Virginian wilderness and listening to her old cassette tapes sounds to no one, the game fails to make this appealing on any level. You see, Bethesda have decided that they would remove all NPCs from the game and tell the game's story through holotapes, speakers, robots, and letters that you find across the wasteland. Unlike previous games that have characters and dialogue trees and moral choice aspects and other interesting things, Fallout 76 has, well, nothing. The majority of the missions are done on behalf of someone who died the best part of 30 years ago, and as a result, there's little to no motivation to do any of it. There are a few tasks that you can do for fresher corpses if you want something a little more relevant. Some corpses want you to do a job that are only weeks, months, or a couple of years old, and you may find the occasional delusional robot that you could do a job for, or a sentient computer. Regardless, you aren't doing anything for anyone, not even yourself, and the fact that you get rewarded with supplies even when there's no one to reward you for doing the job, it just makes the whole thing more confusing and less immersive. Most of the story and lore are told through ramblings of exposition tapes and newsletters that just go on and on and on. This is really not suitable for an online game, which is funny because this is why the game is like this. If you're doing what Bethesda wanted with this thing by playing with a group of 4 buddies, the rest of them are not going to want to wait for you to read the notes or listen to holotapes. They're going to want to get out there and get some loot or something. My girlfriend and I also noticed that we both could play the same tape, and when we did that, we could hear each other's audio and it was bloody awful. Not that there's much worth paying attention to in the audio cassettes anyway, as a lot of them are irrelevant, boring, contrived, or complete nonsense. There's a series called Survival Stories where a bunch of people recorded their stories onto tapes because of the whims of some random people in the town who decided that this could be a thing that trends. It really doesn't make any sense to me why these characters bothered to record their stories, especially when they come from all weird backgrounds. The problem that I find is that What used to be the exception is now the norm, and as a result, it means that not much can surprise the player. In Fallout 3, one of the big twists in the game was the President of the United States being a computer. It was an impressive reveal, given that it was against the player's expectations, and though we weren't aware of the possibilities, we weren't exactly deprived of them either. By that I mean, it's more than possible for the President of the United States to be a human, ghoul, super mutant, or machine in the game's established lore. In Fallout 76, well, there are no human NPCs, so it would have to be a computer or a robot. Maybe a super mutant, since there's a super mutant trader who you can randomly encounter, and he's like literally the only organic being you can meet in the world. And all he does is buy and sell things. Stunning. Fucking stunning. The point is that the game has eliminated all possibility of surprising you. If there's no possibility of being surprised on a boring as fuck quest, then there's nothing to save said quest. It's not that there aren't any missions that have a good premise or story to them, but they're few and far between, and even some of the best encounters have had a weak comparison to Fallout 3 and 4's. My favourite one thus far was having to escort a robotic postman through the wasteland so that he could deliver a message. Except when he gets there, the recipient of the message had been dead for years, and yet he still informed her that her husband died in a mining accident 30 years ago, and that she needed to return his belongings to the company. It was kind of the dark humour that I can usually appreciate, but it was nothing astounding, and it required me to walk alongside an NPC for the whole journey, who doesn't go fast enough for me to be able to run alongside, but doesn't walk slow enough for me to be able to walk alongside either. You know, that annoying as fuck walk speed that every NPC has, that Bethesda still expects you to keep up with. Also, this robot can easily have his pathfinding fucked, and sometimes he just stands there doing nothing. They either need to boot their NPCs up the ass, or put a Red Dead style cinematic mode in so that you can just go on autopilot, because trying to travel the same speed as these chumps is just fucking unreal and terrible. He's brewing chems on my patch, the fuck? I don't like competition. It gets right up my fucking skirt, it does.
God's sake.
Do I look like a fucking joke to you, mate?
See, if I knew they heard this, that'd be great, but I don't think they do.
He probably is just ignoring me, he's being nice. Every mission is just busy work. Run here, do this, go here, and fetch that. Due to there not being anything complex in the game, all of the tasks are just mind-numbingly simple, and it gets old real quick. As I mentioned a few moments ago, one of the tasks was to follow a robot as he slowly moved his way through the wasteland. And that isn't the only mission, that this is the objective. Like, this exact objective, I've had to do twice with two different robots. There's another objective where you have to follow a Protectron around a town and protect him from his inevitable demise. These things waddle as slow as a toddler having a stroke with a big mound of shit in his diaper. It's just, for fuck's sake. Are people seriously as upset? What the fuck happened to this Brahmin? There is no incentive in these situations to actually assist the idiot robot, because even if you pass with flying colours, he's just going to gulp up quite a bit of time. Bear in mind as well that you're expected to do this daily, and I would much rather consume a raw can of dog food on a daily basis than do this fucking asinine shit. The quests aren't great when they work, but they're a whole different ball game when they don't. One mission required me to go to kill Ewan, and when I found Ewan, he was already dead on the floor. And no, shooting his corpse and dismembering it, that didn't count. I had to kill him when he was alive, and he was dead. So good luck with that. I also spent the best part of 2 hours doing a quest that I found out was broken and Bethesda hadn't fixed it yet, despite knowing that it was broken like 3 weeks before releasing the game. So, thanks you arseholes. Thank you for making me run to the top of the map to fix a machine that I can clip through and can't interact with until you fix the cunt. They have patched it since, but I found the threads referring to this problem in the beta about 3 weeks before I encountered it. Like, there's no excuse for that. Your quests should be like your top priority for shit that should work. Now, the next bit that I'd say needs to be addressed is the lore, especially in regards to other games. You see, the stuff that Fallout 76 has invented for itself is actually pretty good. I like the mutant animals like the sloths, and their abomination bee creatures are pretty cleverly designed. They also have a race of beings known as the Scorched, who are the main rival faction in the game, and they're reminiscent of the Marked Men from Lonesome Roads DLC of Fallout New Vegas. There is also a race of mole miners, who have an origin shrouded in mystery, and I kinda like them as an alternative to the super mutants. They would be a great alternative if, you know, the actual super mutants weren't in the game, but we'll get to that in a bit. Unlike the Marked Men, the Scorched lack any real identity or depth. One thing that made the Marked Men interesting enemies was the lore behind them. You see, most Marked Men were enemies on two sides of a conflict, but the pain of being burned alive and mutated into being fleshless abominations brought them together and unified them. However, they still wear their old outfits as a memory of who they used to be. They even go as far as to make new pieces of their armour out of the place that they lost their humanity to, that place being the Divide. And some of them have even crafted Legate Linnaeus' mask as a mark of disrespect. The Scorched, on the other hand, have no social structure, no clear identity of their own, and are really just feral ghouls that can use weapons. It's a shame as well because they actually have some pretty cool and interesting things going about them. They say some pretty weird and kind of messed up things in combat, but you obviously never get to learn what their goal is or why they exist. I know that they're victims of a disease, but it would still be cool if they were fighting to achieve something in their deluded state. Like, what if the disease itself was what controlled them? Or what if they saw it as some sort of god worth fighting for? I do appreciate that sometimes no answer is better than a weak one. I mean, stuff like Prometheus kind of proves that's the case. But in this case, I just find the lack of gaps filled in to be more lazy than well thought out but not giving you all the answers because they wanted to have some intrigue. They're not giving you all the answers because there are no fucking answers because they didn't think that far ahead.
Oh, it was one of those things. Yeah, I thought it was something more than that.
One of the biggest weaknesses of this game is the fact that it is actually creatively lazy. The sad part is that visually it isn't, and some aspects of the game are actually kind of cool, but others are just so lacking and it really leaves a hole where the intrigue should be. And you really need that in an open world game like this. I also really like the mythical urban legend creatures that are formed due to the radiation and other factors. Several of them, like the Wendigo, Wendy, whatever they're called, are actual creatures of folklore. You might recognise them from games and movies like Until Dawn, where they're the main antagonists. I also like the factions in the game, like the Responders and the Fire Breathers, who I affectionately call the Mouth Breathers, who are actually the remnants of the emergency services from before the war. The Responders consist of displaced police officers, paramedics and doctors, and the Mouth Breathers consist of the firefighters. As a concept, I actually like this. They aren't completely post-apocalyptic at this time, but they do have an evolving identity, especially when it comes to the younger members of the organisation. Like a lot of things, this aspect is somewhat ruined by the game's lack of NPCs. you only find these people as corpses and holotapes, so it really makes it feel like wasted potential. However, though the lore has a few issues here and there, it's nothing compared to the problematic attitudes that they've got to established entities. You see, this is a Fallout game, and as a result, they need to have the Brotherhood of Steel and super mutants in the game. Like, you have to. It's like in the Treaty of Versailles or some shit. Well, they don't need it in a real sense. More like they need it, like those fuckwits need that school shooter game to own the libs. It's just something unnecessary, clunky and stupid that doesn't satisfy anyone except for some people who've got it into their heads that it actually does for some reason. You see, this game is set 25 years after the bombs drop, and as a result, the Brotherhood of Steel is a barely formed entity in California, and yet somehow it has a branch out here? Like, this doesn't even tie into Bethesda's changes to the lore made in 3, where the Brotherhood moves across the country after the events of Fallout 2. That makes a bit of sense, because by that point the Brotherhood were in a losing battle and would probably be wiped out. That was more than possible. It actually is possible in Fallout New Vegas, so yeah, I can understand them wanting to move. But why would they start scouting across such a great continent at this point, when they can barely scout California? How the hell did they even manage it to begin with? I honestly think it would have been better if the Brotherhood were like the Responders and the Mouth Breathers, and originally I thought this was the case, that the Brotherhood stuff was just a placeholder for them in the early screenshots. The idea of a remnant army faction really works for me, and they kind of did this by having the Brotherhood recruit army remnants who had lost their purpose in the world. However, an army-based faction would make a lot of sense given that there are army vehicles and army bases scattered around the map, but nope, gotta get that brand recognition in there. I mean, if you wanted it to be like Fallout 4, why not just set it when Fallout 4 is set? For fuck's sake. However, this is just minor compared to the major fuck up that is the super mutants. I honestly didn't get at first why there were super mutants 25 years after the nuclear holocaust, but it's okay, they came up with an explanation. It's just horribly insulting. You see, the original super mutants don't exist for another 50 or so years, and they were actually the result of painstaking work done by a mad and rather deluded genius who wanted to create his own master race. The idea of a perfect world, in his eyes, was a somewhat misguided attempt to unify everyone.
Of course not. Most will be offered a chance to become a mutant.
Those who deny this
Opportunity,
will be sterilized and
let go. Those that resist will be...
executed.
all that
Resist?
yes, and all those that are required for the
Unity,
as well. The remainder will be allowed to live out their days, but under unity.
Control.
and protection.
But none shall breed, for they will be the last of their race.
By making everyone a super mutant. His idea was that removing all differences would remove all tensions among each other and allow us to evolve and give us a brighter future. The super mutants are one of the franchise's more interesting footnotes in the lore. I actually like them as a good bit of sci-fi, and initially they were just a monstrous horde, but then they ended up losing their purpose and having to fit in with the human world. And in Fallout 2 and New Vegas, the super mutants are found dealing with having their purpose ripped away from them. Some become feral, some others become productive members of society, and others isolated themselves and chose to live with their own kind in their own way. Fallout 3 did this a bit differently, making all mutants feral beasts who attack anyone and anything that isn't one of them. Bethesda wanted the mutants to be on the East Coast and reinvented them, giving them a new purpose, and in truth, I feel like they did a decent job of giving us an alternative version of an established race. These super mutants had no leader or purpose, and as a result were cavemen with large weapons who terrorized the region, and unlike their West Coast counterparts, had no reasoning ability. Fallout 4 was similar. A new batch of super mutants was formed, this time as super soldiers by the Institute. This is an idea that is somewhat of a bridge between Fallouts 1 and 2 and 3, given that some super mutants were capable of reasoning without being complete freaks of nature like the West Coast counterparts. But they did have a tribalistic and rather feral nature that their Fallout 3 brothers had. I feel that more could have been done with the Fallout 4 mutants, like if the Commonwealth had its own version of Jacobstown. It would be pretty cool, and it would take us to a new place with the East Coast super mutants. However, it's clear Bethesda sees them as merely beasts who only exist to serve as cannon fodder for the player, as proven in Fallout 76. However, these super mutants predate all of that, being the earliest iteration of this creature. So these are the original super mutants. How did the original super mutants come to be? The answer is, well, apparently, there was an environmental spillage with a chemical that just so happened to be FEV, the right formula of FEV that created Institute-grade super mutants, and it contaminated a river, and those who came into contact with it became super mutants. So yeah, the original super mutants were the result of pollution. For fuck's sake. Yeah, you know what? Here's an idea, right? Why don't we make a prequel to Star Wars The Phantom Menace with stormtroopers? Oh, it's okay, I have an explanation. Jango Fett took a dump in some toxic waste, and that turd turned into a clone army that became the first stormtroopers. It just works! It just works! A lot of people have come to this game's defense when this is brought up by saying, well, it's set in the past, and it's 25 years after the war, and therefore, it's harder for them to have the Brotherhood of Steel and the super mutants in the game. That's akin to seeing an Olympic sprinter take the starting pistol and then shoot himself in the foot with it. Then, when he's crawling to the finishing line, getting the worst finish time in the history of Olympic sprinter history, some people say, well, to be fair, he did have a bullet in his foot, he put it there! For a start, the Brotherhood and the Super Mutants do not need to be here. The Brotherhood could have been some other form of military remnant, which would make more sense, because you see a lot of army vehicles around the place, and the mole miners, as established, would make a good replacement for the super mutants anyway. Hell, they're tough enemies, and they're interesting and creepy as fuck. The way that they scream into their breathing apparatus is unsettling, and they can make a genuinely creepy atmosphere. Honestly, I'd say that they're superior to the super mutants. But if you absolutely must have these two things in your game for, let's say, brand recognition, then just set the game after Fallout 1. It's not bloody hard. You could have made that work just as well, if not better. The final note on this is what they did with the Enclave. Yes, the Enclave are in this. It turns out that they're a secret organisation who are basically the Illuminati, and they control everything or something. I know that this was kind of alluded to, but for fuck's sake, Bethesda, if you were this desperate for a plot, you could have stolen a better one off fanfiction.net. I mean, there are legitimately better stories on that site than this pile of shit. Let's just move on to something else. The second group of areas that this game is utterly broken. So, the gameplay itself is exactly the same as Fallout 4, assuming that it actually works, of course. The amount of bugs and glitches that I alone have experienced are so numerous that I filled up my PS4's hard drive with recordings of them. The stuff that I have experienced are nothing short of hilarious. In the beta I saw this lovely monstrosity, which happened a few feet away from my girlfriend who was stuck in a chair. This game is so completely and utterly broken, and yes, whilst Bethesda have been patching and fixing it up a lot, it took nearly a month to get the game in a more stable state, and I won't call its current state acceptable, but it's better, I guess. I mean, if you think that this is in any way acceptable, I'd like to point out that spending any length of time in the trade menu can slow the game down drastically. You see this? This is real-time footage of me trying to make a trade with another character. Notice how fucking slow it is and how long it is taking me. It's a real shame that they couldn't give it to players early, in a sort of demo form, so that players could find problems within the game and report them a few months before the game was out. You know, like a beta? A break it early application? Oh wait, they had that! It was just a week before launch! Honestly, so many people were defensive about this game that because it was in beta, that made all of its problems okay a week before launch. And that just made me laugh. No! That's not a beta! Some would call it a server stress test, others would call it a demo for high pay shit munchers to enjoy. I'd personally call it a warning sign for people who pre-ordered an expensive edition to jump ship before it launched. And unfortunately, not many people took it, not nearly enough. I know I'm stupid and I would have bought it anyway, but fuck. A lot of these bugs can really dampen your experience, especially when they put you in an impossible situation, like being stuck in the floor, or instantly blasted to Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, the second you fucking spawn. Oh, that happened, by the way, but I'll get to that in a bit, because that's a story on its own. Honestly, this game released in a state that I wouldn't say was good enough for a pre-alpha build. I'd say, even after all they did, this is barely good enough to be the beta. Yeah, a month in, and it's only just good enough to be considered beta build. This idea of release now and fix later can seriously fuck off. Games like No Man's Sky, Fallout 76, We Happy Few, they don't deserve players' time and money. There's a reason that AAA games have gotten away with being expensive over the past decade or so, and that was mostly due to quality assurance. I am starting to ask, with games like this, No Man's Sky, We Happy Few, Aliens Colonial Marines, Duke Nukem Forever...
Install one of the greatest science fiction video game series of all time and get away with this? Where do you get the nerve to do something like that?
Assassin's Creed Unity, Mass Effect Andromeda, The Last Guardian, The Quiet Man, Homefront 2, Walking Dead Season 3, Walking Dead Survival Instinct, and I'm not even mentioning the amount of games that came out without bugs that were just joyless pieces of shit. With all that in mind, it's starting to rattle my faith in AAA gaming, because at one point, you could at least expect the game to run as intended. Now, honestly, it's a crapshoot. I've been playing RimWorld this past month or so. I got it the same time as Fallout 76. And it's such a better game. It was made by a much smaller team, and obviously has a lot more heart put into it. And amazingly, I've only encountered one thing that I could call a bug thus far. And that bug was as small as some menus always assuming that your character's a he. Like, it says, your character got sick, he won't be back on his feet for a bit, even if they're a woman. If that's the worst thing that can happen in an indie game, in comparison to this shit show, I am more than happy to spend money on that. I've actually gotten to the point where I've stopped buying from companies. Not out of outrage, but it just doesn't seem like a good investment. I've stopped buying EA's games after Mass Effect Andromeda because, what's the point? They'll release a product that a few people can like, and those who actually manage to like it are rewarded with the series being killed, and the franchise being shelved. And maybe, if they're really lucky, and the CEO is feeling merciful, he might make said franchise a shitty mobile game in 10 years for a Chinese market to enjoy. It's not a coincidence that FIFA 19 has dropped its physical sales by 25% this year. FIFA was, even last year, one of the hottest franchises, but EA has alienated its players to the point that none of them want to touch this shit anymore. I know some people put this to digital distribution, but 25% of players is way too big of a dip for that. I mean, I'd legitimately be surprised if it was a 10% dip per year on that front. And if that's the case, that's still 15% of people who played it last year but aren't fucking bothering this year. I bring this up because I feel it's important, as Bethesda were once a company whose products I admired and looked forward to playing. Perhaps a little too much. And now, they're just another Konami or EA or Activision, not giving a shit about the customer, not bothering to make a good product, lying through their teeth, and treating even the highest paying customers as shit munchers who you can just fob off and they'll still buy your shit. They haven't got enough for canvas duffel bags that people actually paid for. Meanwhile, they're greasing the palms of journalists with expensive items. Did you know they gave Young Ye a $200 Power Armor edition of Fallout 76? Despite the fact that he hasn't had a single positive thing to say about Fallout 76. Not that I blame him for this, he was just as baffled as everyone else. And hell, I'd be happy to accept that from a company. But it really shows that all they give a shit about are actual influencers. And that their priorities lie with them. When the canvas bags and free collector's editions go to those whose opinions Bethesda feel matter. And if you're a paying customer, then they've already got your money, so they don't need to bother with that shit anymore. Why try and get loyalty out of a customer when you can buy off a critic? People who supported the game didn't get that. They didn't get anything for doing so. They had to fucking buy theirs, and they were lied to in the process. They got a worthless product when they were told they were getting something better. They're still getting shit on. And it's truly baffling how Bethesda expects anyone to want to buy any more of their products. I mean, in truth, I can't buy another collector's edition from them. Given that what they gave me was not what was advertised, even if, to be fair, I didn't notice the canvas duffel bag. Yeah, somehow I missed it. I kind of overlooked it, and it came as a nice surprise. But even then, a con is a con is a con. And I have to ask, like, next time they make a collector's edition, is the T-51B power helmet going to be a bucket? I know that was a joke earlier. It turned out to be a pretty nifty replica, but how the fuck do I know that I'm getting what I paid for with Bethesda? How do I know that the terms aren't just going to change, and that the T-60 helmet with Fallout 5 isn't going to be too expensive, so they give me a blue bucket and tell me to pretend? How do I know that if I need to ask for a refund or a replacement item, they won't just leak all of my personal information online again? In fact, I'd say my credit card details are safer with Sony than these arse clowns right now. And I refuse to link any of my credit cards or payment details to PSN Store. I actually go through the annoying as fuck but safer process of buying cards off Amazon and, well, you know, uploading the codes. And I see myself having to do this with Bethesda from now on. I will buy their games as physical copies from stores after launch, and I have no intentions of buying personally from them or buying any copy more than $60 ever again. Not only that, but I will probably wait to see if the game is worth the time, effort and stress that Fallout 76 required from me. So, congratulations, you've whittled your goodwill away to the point that I went from buying a $200 collector's edition to the point that I'm seriously on the umming and ahhing stage of buying the game for £20 1 year after launch, when it's at its most fixed, and I'm honestly terrified of the prospect of directly doing business with you. Are you even a real business? Are you just some fucking shit producers type scam? In fact, I'd say this applies to most AAA gaming. Not all, but most of it. It's starting to make me think that we're heading towards another crash, like in the 80s. Originally, this was a more original thing to say back in October, but now everyone's saying it. But companies are making impossible promises to their shareholders to the point that every game has completely failed to meet expectations for the best part of a decade because they need more money, more and more. Customer satisfaction, though, is at an all-time low. Companies are targeting individuals instead of groups of customers, and once you've drained those people of all their time and money, you're not going to get it back. If I bankrupt myself with a gambling addiction, I'm not going to be able to get that money back. Don't we still have indie games and the lark? I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 5 to 10 years, AAA gaming explodes as a result of this, and they would die for a few years, like Atari before it. I imagine history will repeat itself, and they will get burned on the economic boom that they themselves have made, and keep feeding kerosene in an effort to make it brighter. If you can look past the bugs, as difficult as that is, you'll find an open world that completely lacks purpose. There's a main quest, but as I said, it's about as inviting as the anus of Glenn Martin's dog. There's quests that are about as interesting as grocery shopping on the side, and an absence of characters and real world building that just makes it feel like I Am Legend rather than a Fallout game. You know, a lot of people compare this game to No Man's Sky, but there are so many problems with that comparison. I mean, people actually wanted No Man's Sky. I kid, of course, people wanted an online Fallout, but I wouldn't compare the two. Instead, I compare this to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. Seriously, if you want an online experience of that game, the game where everyone's gone because the world ended and all that you have is their final recordings on tape to listen to, this is the game for you. Specifically you, and no one else. It's not that there isn't anything in the world that's mildly interesting or could potentially be interesting, but the few things that you find wouldn't really be anything special in a competent Fallout game, and the few things that actually impressed me, like the intact pre-war shopping mall, just made me wish that was in a real Fallout game instead of this shit. This goes for the unique weapons and enemies, which I quite like in concept at least. There's a guitar sword, and that's got a pretty cool design. And there are several old-timey War of Independence weapons as well, and a number of new creatures that provide a different sort of challenge, such as the teleporting Mothman and the versatile Wendigo. I think I actually said that right for once. The only one of these things that I can't fucking stand are the Scorch Beasts. Oh, fuck the Scorched Beasts. I hate these things. I hate them so fucking much. On a level that I didn't even know I had. I didn't know that I had this level of hate. Like, my hatred for these things goes deeper than that of the Raving Rabbids. No! I'm serious, these fucking things can fuck right off. Imagine a dragon from Skyrim. A dragon that never lands on the ground and takes 4 times as much damage as a dragon from Skyrim. It has an endless recharge on all of its attacks, which includes a sonic wave that can shatter your armor like it's tissue paper, and shrugs off most of the damage you do to it. Now imagine that it can also fart radioactive clouds that hurt you through proxy, fly through walls, and none of these attacks have any visible cooldown timers or anything to give it balance. Imagine now that it brought 3 of its buddies along and attacked you the second that you spawn into the game. Yes, this has happened multiple times, and as it happens, it just got more and more tempting to pull the game out my PS4 and smash it with a fucking spatula. How is this acceptable? Is this some sort of shit asset flip on Steam? No, actually, no. Even shit asset flips on Steam aren't capable of this level of incompetence. Nerf these fucking things. Or at least get rid of them, because they're fucking shit to begin with. A kid I work with summed them up perfectly by saying they're basically god tier cliff racers. Those fucking annoying bat creatures from Morrowind that annoyed the piss out of starting players. They're that, but with the power of a dragon from Skyrim. Fuck these things. There are also a number of new mechanics added into this game, newly introduced since Fallout 4. Remember weapon degradation? It's back! Yay! Seriously, I thought we were over this weapon degradation bullshit by now. I thought that maybe it could just be a relic of the late 2000s that nobody bothered with again. Because it made pre-Skyrim such a pain in the arse. I remember at one point I did a Fallout 3 playthrough where all I did was make money to pay to have my gun fixed. And it added absolutely nothing to that playthrough. It took everything away from it because it was just so boring. And from the game itself. The only examples that are acceptable to me, and bear in mind I said acceptable and not good, are RimWorld, where the weapons degrade over literal in-game years, and that's usually due to the environment that they're kept in. Like a rifle left out in the rain to go rusty is obviously going to break a lot faster than one kept in a nice snug little armory. The other is Red Dead Redemption 2, which is probably a bit more realistic and less annoying actually, as you have to clean and maintain your weapon as you do in real life. Of course, in real life, you have to do more than pour some oil on a cloth and give the gun a good rub, but it's not too bad, and it makes sense in terms of the realism angle, as cleaning a gun is an important part of gun ownership, and not doing it will only slightly decrease its stats at worst. However, Bethesda's idea of weapon degradation is to have the weapon just explode or vanish from your hands after so many uses. They could at least make it so that you'd have to fuck around with it whilst reloading. Fallout 3 and New Vegas did this, but no, that's too much work. They just vanish now, mid-use. They also added a food and drink meter for the survival experience. You know, it's that realistic survival experience of starving to near death because you haven't eaten a packet of crisps in 2 hours. Again, Red Dead did this a lot better, as it only really mattered in the case that you were overweight or underweight as a result of how much you ate and drank. And this only had a slight impact on stats, and even had some slight benefits as well. You can also keep on top of this stuff by simply playing the game, whereas Fallout 76 creates a scenario where playing the game makes it harder to keep on top of this shit. Then there's weight. My favourite part of the game. Believe it or not, the vast majority of the things that I've talked about do not hurt the game as much as this aspect of it. Even the scorched beasts aren't as bad as this. Like, if it weren't for the fact that you had this problem, they would be pretty avoidable. But a lot of players had to carry everything on their person instead of being able to stash it away like in previous games. You do get a stash, but initially it was only 400 WG, which is pretty much what a high level character can carry on their person. A low level character with really low strength, we're talking about 120 WG. Maybe a bit more depending on what your special stats are, but basically the max you can get, as far as I'm aware, is around 800 in both stashes, which is pathetic. Now, they have increased this to around 600 in your, like, loot box back at your base, and I admit this has made the issue a bit more bearable, but in the long run, I imagine I'll be back to square one in a few weeks, especially if they release DLCs or new content for the game, and therefore require you to stash new weapons and outfits. It also doesn't help now that weapons and items weigh more than ever. Stim packs weigh, ammo weighs, items that previously didn't weigh anything now do weigh something. And as a result, you're more likely to get over encumbered than ever before. Even fucking bobby pins weigh something. Yeah, apparently like 60 bobby pins. Which anyone who's ever seen a bobby pin before, you know it doesn't weigh a bloody thing, right? If you have like 60 of them, it weighs as much as a 50 caliber bullet. How the fuck does that make any sense? This also means that missiles and mini nukes, fusion cores as well, take up a fuck ton of inventory space. So all your heavy hitters just drag you down to your knees. They take around 3 WG per fusion core, 3 per missile, and 6 per mini nuke. As well as the 20 WG that a fucking fat man would probably weigh, and the 10 WG that power armor probably weighs, because you have to carry that around now. Owning one of each knocks 10 off your 400 stash, or 600, but still, and it really fucking bogged you down. It's not like you can function without stim packs and power armor in the game, especially given that Scorch Beasts can roam anywhere, and established earlier, are really fucking annoying to deal with. Not to mention that if you get over encumbered in both your stash and your pack, then good luck sorting that mess out, as it's like a fox, chicken and worm puzzle designed by the fucking Manson family. All of these additions are so unnecessary and just make a worse overall experience. Not only are a lot of them dated attitudes to the concepts, but it was just so much better when they weren't included back in Fallout 4. The argument of realism is shattered when you realise that guns don't just vanish from your hands in real life after firing them 125 times, and it would be far more realistic for the same gun to be in service for the best part of 50 years, as there have been cases of people having fully working World War II service weapons, than there have been people whose guns have miraculously vanished in their hands. I don't think I've ever read an article where that's happened before, except maybe the Daily Star. In truth, it really feels like having to maintain your character and equipment. No, maintain isn't the right word, babysit. You have to babysit these things. Rather than surviving and enjoying the world, rather than finding new adventures or conquering new lands, you're just mulling over the same territory over and over in an effort to not die, and it makes the game lacking in an experience of any kind. It's like fucking Purgatory the video game. Not to mention either that the building eats up most of your time as well. Can we just not have this in the next Fallout? Yeah, the building gimmick was kinda cool in 4, but Bethesda's engine is not good enough to house such a gimmick, and it's certainly not good enough to last the player in the endgame sandbox. My save file in Fallout 4 is virtually unplayable because I simply played the game so much that it's just too much for the game to handle. I have so many settlements, so many settlers, and I've expanded so far and wide that the game can't handle what I've done to it, and it just glitches and eventually crashes. I mean, I got to a point where there was a triangle in the top left hand corner of the map where you could walk around naked and unarmed and were completely safe, and the engine is such a shambles that it can't handle such change to the landscape. Oh, speaking of the engine, I can't help but laugh at this. You have to pay 300 atom points to beg for food or water. You have to pay to beg for basic human essentials. Fucking hell. Bethesda's creation engine has lost all endearing qualities, because it's basically just a painted up version of a game made in 2006. Which is insane, because if anyone was making a game out of a heavily modified game from 1994 in 2006, they would be laughed off the market. Bethesda are just lucky that no big graphical advancements have happened since 2006, really. I mean, yeah, things look better, but it's not as big of a jump between, say, Doom 2 and Call of Duty 4. Like, Oblivion and Kingdom Come Deliverance aren't that big of a gap. Or maybe that's just me, but games have more improved in the mechanics than the graphics over the past 10 years. Like, more can be done with them. Bigger worlds can be made. Except if you're Bethesda, of course, where they have stayed the same for the most part, and have become slightly improved versions in all aspects, but slightly worse in others. Honestly, they say that the reason they are sticking to this engine is that people are familiar with it in the modding community. They don't like it, of course. They're familiar with it. You do realise that people who are familiar with living with ants in their house aren't pro-ants living in their house, right? It's just a bad thing that's happened for so long now that they've gotten used to it. But that doesn't mean they like it. Bethesda's creation engine is a metaphorical house built in 2002, re-wallpapered in 2006 by putting the new wallpaper over the old. And it wasn't noticeable at the time when they did this, but then they added another layer in 2008, and by 2010, people could obviously see that because it was starting to crack up and the older layers were starting to get musky and smelly. So in 2011, they stripped a few of the layers back, or at least did a really good job of hiding the older layers, and then proceeded to do the same thing again in 2015 as they did in 2008, by wallpapering over the new wallpaper, to make it look even worse.
Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change.
By this I mean that there are so many goddamn old pieces of code, even in the creation engine, that hasn't been used since 2002. Old buttons in the editor that are literally decades old and have had no usage in that time. And unfixed bugs in the engine that what was once a sturdy little house is now a dilapidated piece of shit. Now, I don't think I have to tell you why one can't simply wallpaper over wallpaper multiple times for the best part of 20 years. And that's the trouble with Bethesda's engine. People are jumping ship from the engine. That modding community who are familiar with it, they're no longer supporting it for the mods. So many complain about everything that's wrong with Gamebryo and the creation kit that a lot of ambitious modders like the fine folks who made New California have moved on to more competent engines. The creation engine is a fucking shit show. It reminds me of the Source engine and how poorly that engine has aged. Many modders and mappers are used to it, but long-time users like Ross Scott and a few people who made some pretty big Left 4 Dead 2 campaigns, they have long since given up on it due to its limitations, instability, and the fact that it's got so many problems and so many things can go wrong with it that people aren't fucking bothering anymore. I admired them wanting to make their own engine, but at this point, it's a detriment, and sticking to it is almost psychotic. BioWare constantly complained during the development of Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect that the Frostbite engine was not fit for the task. Like, it was not designed for that kind of game. It's perfectly fine for a game like Battlefield or FIFA, small games of routine, But for large open worlds with lots of values and whatever else, character-based games, it's incredibly lacking. Bethesda has the exact same issue, only their engine is A, forced on them, and B, it's barely fit for anything at this point. I'm only aware of 3 games that use the creation engine. The 3 that Bethesda made for the bloody thing. Gamebryo has been used for so many games, like Catherine, Unfinished Swan, even Rockstar's Bully. However, the engine wasn't really updated with the times, and the creation engine is barely improved. In fact, Skyrim just readily used textures from Fallout 3. And if you open up the creation kit, it looks the exact same as Gamebryo's. So, what's the point in having a new engine? Honestly, drop the damn engine. I'm not a developer, but I did do some messing around with Fallout 3, New Vegas, Skyrim, Oblivion, and even Fallout 4. And they're probably the most unpleasant things I've ever had the misfortune of using. Except maybe the Source engine, because that was even more broken. But I've had bad luck with editors constantly, but even the most basic of alterations in Gamebryo could cause some absolutely outright cataclysmic effects on the entire world, or even break the game, and creation's even worse. It's just run its course at this point, and now it just feels like it's bogging your game down. Man, fuck, Fallout 4 felt way too bogged down in this crap. You sacrificed all the content you should have in your RPG to add a building mechanic that broke the game even further. Just let the damn building mechanic go, man. Just let it go. Seriously, I don't think anybody wants it anymore. Just let the engine go. Let everything go. Because it's just... it's crippling you guys. Fuck. The whole focus of Fallout 76 is to make a live service version of Fallout. That horrific concept dreamt up, based around good free-to-play games like Fortnite, Warframe and Path of Exile, which corporate executives have twisted into have your cake and fuck it live services, such as Star Wars Battlefront 2, Destiny 2, and every Assassin's Creed game since Assassin's Creed Oranges. So looking at it from that perspective, how does it hold up then? Well, the answer is... bloody fucking shitting terribly. Now, I'm of course going to ignore the fact that this game is about as appealing as a live service as a warthog's anus is as appealing as a glory hole, and we'll be focusing on this potential scenario of, if I bought this game and stuck with it long enough, hell, if I even liked it, what would be waiting for me if I invested time and possibly money into it? Well, in terms of longevity, this game has little to offer, like less than any of the single player Fallout games. There are an extremely limited number of quests before they start repeating themselves, and you have to do all of the quests in the main storyline. Like, there's one storyline with multiple factions in it, and you have to do basically all of them before you can actually win the game. Even if you have to join a faction that you don't like on a moral level, tough titties, you gotta join them, face the music and win. After this though, you end up just killing the same enemies over and over again, so I guess it's better than that. Bethesda have made it so that you have to make your own fun, but they haven't given you the tools to allow you to do so. Even if you manage to do so, the game has so many hours of fun in it, theoretically, before you eventually find yourself at a loss as to what you should be doing. The lack of potential for social interaction in the game makes it impossible to get the community aspects of the game to come to life, and most people just meet you, stare at you for a few moments, and then run away. Elder Scrolls Online had some form of chat functionality, so I don't get why this game can't. As a result, the enjoyment one can get out this game will wane, not grow over time like something like Injustice 2, which was the last live service I covered. This game in comparison just lacks any form of lifespan, pretty much drying up very quickly after 100 or so hours. In order to accommodate for this, the game has the trademark issues that come with other live services, like not being able to quit mid-mission for fear of losing all your progress, and losing all of your progress because your own network, or even the server, hosted by a billion-dollar corporation, has had a little bit of a hiccup, killing your whole game. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the live service model being in AAA games, especially in $60 titles, because they have thus far failed to respect the player's time or money, choosing to be addictive instead of fun, and choosing to reward the players who spend money over players who actually play the game. GTA Online was actually my first bit of exposure of this, and I found the heists to be very stressful. Having to dedicate a solid half hour, at least, to anything is a fucking nightmare. Because I don't believe I can remember a time in which I had half an hour without being interrupted by anything at all. Like, anything as simple as the phone going off, the doorbell going, jobs needing doing around the house, or even something as unexpected as a loud noise that needs investigating. This isn't even taking into account if you live in a house with multiple people in it. Like if you live with your parents and they cook food for you, or have family members who need care. As a result, the game demands 30 minutes minimum of undivided attention, or else not only do you lose all of your progress, but another 3 people lose their progress as well because of your mistake, or because you have a life. The psychological pressure this puts on players is fucking gargantuan, and it's not even the player's fault. This is why I do not like online gaming, especially not online games that subscribe to the live service model. I find that they are for a very small minority of people who have nothing else in their lives, have no value for their money, and have addictive and obsessive personalities and tendencies. The only person I know who flourishes in games like GTA 5 ticks all of those boxes, and as a result, they are not a person that I, or many others, like to associate themselves with, as they are selfish, lazy, ill-educated, as they dropped out of school to play these games, and they're the kind of person that even brings physical harm to their own mother. Fallout 76, whilst being a lot more laxed than GTA Online, does have a final mission that is just fucking horrendous. It's not so much that I'm afraid of losing my quest progress, but more my instance progress, as I've killed a dozen enemies, and now if I restart I've got to kill them all again, with less weapons, less ammo, and less supplies. All that stuff that cost me to get this far. In other words, I couldn't do it again if the server crashed or I had to leave for any reason. Hell, as it got later into the night, I was getting more and more frustrated. People were starting to get worried about that. Like, I was just starting to get really frustrated because I knew that if I didn't do it at a certain point, I'd lose it all and then probably have to wait weeks to try again. However, I will admit that I was a few days out on medication doses due to a gross miscalculation as to how many pills I had left, and I had to wait the best part of a week to get more. So, my head was a mess on top of that. But still, the game didn't help, and the live service model probably is not going to help people who have severe mental health issues like I did at one point. Still, the fact that the games are live service can cause that level of stress, it just makes me ask why. The online portion, at best, adds nothing to your enjoyment, and at worst, hinders it, as you have so many problems introduced since Fallout 4, like lag, constantly regenerating enemies, enemies that do a Kyle from South Park and just declare didn't count, and their health just snaps back to its full state. Then you've got griefers, who just annoy the shit out of everybody, and bad actors, who can also get in your way. It's not that big of a problem in Fallout 76, but it's a potential problem that doesn't need to be there. Honestly, I struggle to figure out the benefits of having more players at this point, as the only instance I can think of where they're of any help is if they somehow happen to be in a situation where you need help killing a giant boss, let's say a super mutant behemoth, and they're there to help you do it. But that never has happened to me. Not once have I ever had another player come and help me when I needed it. They always just steal my kills at the last minute or some shit like that. I seldom need rescuing anyway. I'd also like to point out that the whole endgame of firing that nuke in the silo was for naught, as I ended up just quitting and going to bed, as it was midnight, and, you know, I have a fucking life and a job, and I had to get up early for that job, so I couldn't go to the nuclear blast zone and fight the final boss. And yeah, by the way, that is the ending of this game. You fire a nuke. There's no ending cutscene or anything. What you're seeing on screen right now, that's the ending of this game. Unedited. Congratulations. You pressed a button. Fuck this game. So, not only did I spend the best part of the night just stressing myself out to complete the final mission, not only did I barely do it, not only did I just get a curveball thrown at me after I had to decide where to fire my nuke, but, on top of all of that, I didn't even get to reap the benefits of my labour, because I didn't get to kill the final boss. Like, is it just me, or is this idiotic beyond belief? I mean, having such a temporary window to defeat the final boss, after navigating the hardest bit in the game, is just moronic by anyone's standards. Like, what if the server fails immediately after you launch the nuke? Which has happened multiple times. If 3 people launch a nuke, the server crashes. So, what the fuck? Why it couldn't be like Lonesome Road, where you create a special area of the map with the nuke, is beyond me. Have a special access area for people who completed the main quest, where they can fight harder enemies and get better loot. It would at least avoid shit like server crashes after 3 nukes are launched. Not to mention that it would also make more sense as to why the final boss is there. If the nuke targeted the Scorched Beast's nest, for instance, a nice little higher level area for post-game players could be created through that. But nope, gotta be able to nuke your friends with an ICBM. All none of them, because none of my friends will fucking play this shit, which is totally not worth it, because the amount of stress that it takes to launch a nuke at some randomer on the map is not fucking worth it. It was at this point that my interest in Fallout 76 just dropped dead. It has nothing to offer beyond the end game. And you might ask, wait, it had something to offer? Well, you're not wrong with that question, because it fucking didn't. In truth, I won't argue with that question, but if you find something that's worth the game's offering, you'll lose it by this point. I can guarantee. Most people I know who play the game have seemingly stopped at this point, and I don't think a No Man's Sky style patch will fix it and bring people back to it. So, was the concept of an online Fallout doomed to begin with? No. Not at all. People have been asking for it for years, decades even. Hell, a Falloutized version of Path of Exile could have been great. A dungeon crawler about a vault exile who travels the world, delving into vaults and caverns and whatever else in a well-made dungeon crawler. It would be ideal. A Fallout-esque Destiny game or MMO would have worked with the right framework. Or even just a regular Fallout game with online co-op would have also done the trick. But then we remember that these things would have taken a lot more effort and aren't currently trending right now. What Bethesda was ready to dish out was basically the minimal amount of work they could do to capitalise on a trend, and as a result, the game was just destined to fail. Probably the worst thing about all of this is Bethesda's response. Their attitude, incompetence, and even their complete and utter lack of comprehension towards the issues that they've created. The outside stuff has pretty much just been taught to death. Like, I could give you a quick rundown, but the list has actually changed since I wrote it. There was the shit show of the beta, the canvas bag being nylon, and the refund being an insulting 500 atoms, canvas bags going out to influencers instead of paying customers, and anyone who asked for a replacement bag got their data leaked online, anyone who bought the Nuka-Cola Dark bottles ended up getting some cheap pieces of shit bottles with some plastic mods that you had to put on yourself. Then, you have their bullshit of them doing a Bungie and giving players less XP with a super patch. I mean, really? When you're trying to improve PR, the first thing you think is, let's copy what Bungie did with Destiny 2. That went really well for them. Then, there's the looming threat of loot boxes potentially making their way into the game. A bit like Fallout Shelter, except it's not free. And it's the fucking worst. We also can't forget the insulting bullshit that came with the holiday pack being horrifically overpriced, putting free-to-play skin prices in a $60 game. Now, in truth, what has this left me feeling? Well, I know now that you cannot trust Bethesda with personal information. You only get one chance with me in this regard. I mean, as I said before, I still don't trust Sony, and it's been almost 10 years since they fucked up. So, what Bethesda did was dangerous, and it was in response to what basically amounted to a scam as well. Therefore, I find it difficult to trust them on any front. I wouldn't even let them run my fucking bath at this point. It's fucking tragic that I trust EA not to do the shit that Bethesda has pulled over the past 2 months. A company that I've spent hundreds, possibly thousands of hours playing their games. To my enjoyment as well, I love their games, but this has just left my faith in the company just shattered completely. In 2 months, they've gone from one of my favourite companies to one of the ones I hold the most contempt for. I would not reward Bethesda with your money for this product, were I you. Not even at sale price. Don't bother with it. We are currently in a golden age of good games, and if you're a Fallout fan, times have never been better. In Exile brought back Wasteland a few years ago, with Wasteland 2, which is a fantastic post-apocalyptic role-playing game, written by the same writers and made by the same people as Fallouts 1 and 2.
There was a Fallout 1 and 2?
Yes!
Where your skills actually matter in the game. Obsidian are making their own version of Fallout in March, which looks significantly better than anything Bethesda's put out in the past year or so, as far as Fallout goes. You've got RimWorld, that I mentioned before, which is a colonization game in which you have to colonize a dangerous world, and unlike Fallout 76, it tells a story but without scripted events. This is actually one of my favourite games, if not the best game that I've played this year. And I've sunk over 100 hours into it, and unlike Fallout 76, I do not regret a single second of it. It is a fantastic game, which is much better made, and is sold at a much more reasonable price than this piece of fucking shit. Finally, if you must get your Fallout fix, then I would highly recommend Fallout New California, a Fallout New Vegas mod formerly known as Project Brazil, which acts as a bridging game between Fallout 2 and New Vegas. It has real RPG elements in it, where your skills dictate your strengths and weaknesses, 2 paths to play in the game, and multiple faction campaign storylines ranging from the NCR to the Bishop family mafia and even the Raiders. Honestly, it feels more like an expansion than a mod, and I would highly recommend it to fans of the series or people who haven't played the games before because it offers that much. Not to mention that you'd buy New Vegas to play it, so you'd get that game with it as well. Though New Vegas is a bit temperamental right now, and the game takes a while to install, and it has a lot of faffing about in order to install it, it's pretty worthwhile as it is 100% free, and has had more time, effort, and love put into it than Fallout 76 ever did. Hell, I'd say it had more development time than Fallout 4 did, which is incredible. What I'm basically saying is, don't support this. Support these. They deserve it a hell of a lot more, and you deserve it a hell of a lot more. These might not be to everyone's taste, but they're to someone's taste at least.
Well, Cuphead and his pal Mugman, they like to roll the dice. By chance they came upon Devil's Game, and gosh, they paid the price.
Would I say that Fallout 76 is the worst game of this year? Well, maybe it's the worst AAA game, though if you count The Quiet Man as AAA, then that game beats it. It's not the worst game of this year, as fucking Unknown City, Super Seducer, and Hunt Down the Freeman are likely to take that award. This thing might be lucky enough to make my top 10 worst games of this year. Or unlucky, depending on how you see it. Even if every issue was fixed, it would still be average at best. And I honestly agree with most media outlets, giving it between 4 to 6 out of 10. I'd personally give it a 4, maybe a 5 if they fix the millions of bugs and issues that the game has to the point that it works as intended. So I doubt they'll ever do that because nobody's going to adjust their score to anything close to satisfactory. Regardless, I don't think this game will ever take off, and I would say that the most it could hope for is a cult following of loyal Bethesda fans, like the only 3 they have left. But it seems that Bethesda have made a game out of pissing off as many of their customers as possible, so maybe they don't even have that many left. They also like to make the game even worse and worse and worse, just to piss even more people off. I would not recommend giving this game the benefit of the doubt, as Bethesda have shown a desire to take a page from EA's book of making changes rather than fixing the problems. The difference between those two things, in case you aren't clear, is that they make minute improvements to the game to make former criticisms obsolete. Not invalid, just obsolete. Like the weight thing, they just add 200 pounds onto the weight, and they're like, yeah, you can't say the weight sucks anymore. Except you can. A lot of people will keep saying it, but anyone bitching about the 400 pound weight will seem like they're in a different time, because they fixed it since then. But they didn't fix it enough that it's actually fixed. Companies are doing this nowadays, so that they don't have to fix anything. They can just make reviews outdated instead of completely invalid by fixing the entire game. And as a result, I think it's just bollocks. Like, any company that does this is not worth my time, money, or effort. Part of the reason that my review of this game took so long to make is that a number of my original issues with the game, like the weight issue, and several glitches, bugs, and whatever else, they've all had minor fixes to make those concerns and frustrations completely invalid. And that, to me, makes it so hard to review this. It's going to be outdated by the time I post it. I know it. When I post the last part of this review, this very sentence I'm reading, I know that another article is going to come up. Bethesda have patched this, or Bethesda have fucked this up. It doesn't matter what I say or do here. It will most likely cause people to fight back against retractors, who are like, oh well, you can't say that anymore. But you are missing the point. Defending this game based on minor pedantic technicalities is not going to make it better. It's actually just going to make it infuriatingly worse. Because the fact that companies are willing to put more effort into minor fixes to make reviewers wrong instead of actually fixing the problems with the fucking game, which is what reviews are for, just shows how little of a fuck they give. And how this is a broken, pathetic excuse of a game. And the worst part is, it actually works, because I don't give a fuck anymore. Bethesda, do what you want with this game. Put loot boxes in it, they'll be perfect. Put them in. Also, reduce the weight again, and then double it, so that people who complained the week that you changed it can no longer complain. And that idiots who still think that this is a game worth fighting for can be happy because the weight's been doubled, even though it was halved, so it's just gone back to the way it was. I don't even know where I'm going anymore. This is just fucked. Thank you so much for watching. Really, thank you. I know this hasn't been the most stable of endings, but my god, has this been annoying as fuck to write, and I'm just glad that I've gotten to this point. I didn't know the game was broken, and I'm so sorry, my friend. I didn't know the bugs were plenty. I'll never do it again. I didn't know it wasn't canvas, and I'm so sorry, my friend. I didn't know that it was nylon. Take 500 atoms, be gone. I didn't know about the leakage, and I'm so sorry for the docs. I didn't know I fucked you over. Serves you right for shitting on our box. I didn't know I nerfed the XP, and I'm so sorry, my friend. I was so sure that it would work out. It did so for Bungie in the end. I didn't know the game was dog shit. Okay, I guess I cannot pretend. I guess I knew that it was Rakdos. We released it anyway just because. I didn't know the game was broken, and I'm so sorry, my friend. I didn't know.
My name is Professor Curious, and I'll be doing a video on you.